Hey. Well, that won't. Wow, that music mishap won't appear on the podcast for anybody listening in podcast form. But what in the world? The
Well, I think
Roadcaster just turned on me. It really did.
I think you have to leave it in because this entire first riffing that we'll do now will be surrounded by the reality.
I don't know. I'm definitely not gonna leave it in because there's like 30 seconds of dead air in there. But if anybody wants to come swing around and watch the stream, it'll be out there for all the world to see. That's the great thing about streaming is that try as you might, whatever happens, it lives with you forever on the internet.
Yes, you can't change it. Just as my son did the other day, he made a snide remark towards his sister, and I said, "Asher, anything you record is permanent." He's like, "I'll delete it." I was like, "It ain't that easy. It ain't that easy."
That's right. It's not that easy. So yeah, there was that. Apparently, a couple weeks off the stream and just completely forgot how to do it. But I'm gonna blame the Rodecaster Pro here, my equipment, which I love, by the way. But it just totally turned on me. It completely turned on me. It said that it was playing the right thing, and it clearly was not. I don't even know what that was, to be quite honest with you. I should just delete all of that garbage off of there. But hey, we're here now. Welcome into another episode of Popcorn for Breakfast. Kirk is with me, as always. Say hello, Kirk.
Hello, Kirk.
Oh, I knew that was coming. Oldest trick in the book. I am your other co-host, Cam. We are off to a bumpy start, but it has to go up from here, I think. I think that's how these things work. It's like you almost want to start on a bad note because then you get it out of the way and you move forward. But like we said, we're back on the stream. We're doing a movie review this week. So for those of you listening in podcast form, make sure you come back on Friday for that. For those of you on the stream, you'll get it tonight. Little switcheroo on the old movie review because, and you'll have to jog my memory, Kirk. Did we commit to Reminiscence last week, or did we just kind of say like, hey, we might review this?
If we committed to it, we committed on our subsidiary podcast, Spilled Popcorn. So I don't think it counts. I think we're safe.
Yeah, it's nullified. Yeah, I think that's fair. But here's the deal. We fully intended on reviewing that movie. In fact, I was one of the 15 people who saw it in theaters over the weekend. And I mean that. Like, the movie grossed like $2 million, which I didn't even know it was possible to be that low. I didn't even know that was like an actual scenario that could happen for a wide release movie, but it did. It finished in 9th place in the domestic box office on its opening weekend.
Hold on, I just did the math, and you had a very expensive ticket. If you were one of 15 people, Cam, your ticket came out to over $130,000. I call foul. What's
$133,000 among friends, But it couldn't have been much more than that. I mean, there were very few people in my theater, and we saw it on Friday night, which was opening night. It did also premiere on HBO Max, so I'm eagerly awaiting the streaming numbers. We'll see what happens. You kind of got to take those with a grain of salt because sometimes they go really vague on you and say like, oh, it was the #1 most watched thing on HBO Max this weekend, which like, what does that even mean? Relatively, you have no idea what that means. But anyway, we were planning to watch it, but then it tanked at the box office in a major, embarrassing way. I mean, it lost to Jungle Cruise, which is on Disney Plus. With Premier Access, but right, it was with Premier Access. Yeah, it was.
Yes,
but it's also been in theaters for like 4 weeks, right. And it lost to like Don't Breathe 2 and Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad, obviously, it lost to Free Guy, which topped the box office once again, second week running. I think might be the first film to do that in the new pandemic age to actually like win the box office 2 weeks running. And Paw Patrol, the movie that we are going to review this time because it performed well at the box office. Kirk and I both took our kids to see it, and we think it's more worthy of talking about than Reminiscence, right?
It is. I would agree. It was
just based on performance alone, not like we're not going to talk like not based on just based on who actually saw the movie, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because there are lots of kids movies that are being pushed back right now. I.e. Clifford has been pushed into oblivion, and we'll see that sometime next year, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
or this fall.
Next year. Yeah.
Next year. Clifford. They're looking for numbers for Clifford. That's just shocking. But this movie, the Paw Patrol, brought to you by Nickelodeon. We have reviewed this today, and we are ready to talk about it soon.
Yeah, that's right. It did 13 million this weekend, and that's with being released on Paramount Plus at the same time. So that's pretty good performance, especially for a kids movie, as you said. The prognosis for kids movies is not great in the pandemic era, as we've seen. As Kirk mentioned, Clifford the Big Red Dog got delayed. Hotel Transylvania 4 got moved to streaming. Lots of other things have been moved to streaming. What's the one that's... There's one that's coming out that I just read was movie. Oh, it's The Addams Family. The Addams Family is moving to streaming. So there's a lot of, like, the kids movie arena is not viewed as very profitable, but all things considered, I think Paw Patrol had a good weekend and certainly a much better weekend than Reminiscence, which I did see and was also on HBO Max. So feel free to check that one out. I'm going to review it on Letterboxd. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to review it on Letterboxd. So if you want my thoughts on the movie, you can do it. You can check it out on Letterboxd. It'll be brief. It won't be the same detail as this, but you'll get my sense of like whether I would recommend it or not. So stay tuned. There's a little tease for you right there. Other things we're going to talk about. There was a little trailer dropped yesterday, or 2 days ago, depending on if you watched the leaked version or not. But that trailer is, of course, the hotly anticipated trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home. Kirk and I have been talking about this trailer forever. It lit the entire internet on fire. It got 10 million views on YouTube in 1 hour. When I checked it at the 24-hour mark on Twitter, it had 43 million views and over 1 million likes from the original tweet. So yeah, it was big. Everybody that I follow, even lots of people who are not in sports, were talking about this trailer. We're going to be talking about it in detail. I got my Peter Tingle shirt on here, so I'm raring to go. I'm ready to talk about this trailer that we've been waiting for seemingly forever.
Yes.
And full disclosure, Kirk and I did watch the leak. Are we proud of it? No. Well, I'm not, but we did it anyway.
I'm proud. I'm proud we watched the leak.
Yes, I like it. I like it, Kirk. just own it. I saw lots of people shaming the leak viewers on Twitter. I saw people saying, "Don't watch the leaked video. That's not how the director intended it. Just wait until you can see it in all its glory and just enjoy it for what it is." And I was like, sure, that's a good point, but also like, who's not curious? Right. And it was accurate, so it was horrible quality, but it was almost accurate,
identical, like almost frame for frame. When they put it back up, when they put the official one out, pretty shocking that someone took it. As we know, there have not been any other trailer leaks from Marvel, so this had to be someone from Sony's team, obviously.
Well, Sony is Leak City. Sony is Leak City. In fact, I'm surprised that Marvel still has as good of a working relationship with Sony as they do, given their propensity for leaking things. It's constant, and I mean, we know the vast majority of people who are appearing in this movie, and I sort of hate that. I feel like if it was just the Kevin Feige show, we wouldn't know anything. And we would know. It would be Doctor Strange.
We wouldn't even know Doc Ock until the trailer came out.
We would know Doctor Strange. I think you're right. We would know Doctor Strange for sure.
Doctor Strange, because critical to the plot, he'd be in the trailer, but Doc Ock, maybe you revealed Doc Ock at the trailer only.
Yes.
Similar to when The Rise of Skywalker came out, when they dropped their trailer and they released, because again, Disney property, they released the Emperor's Laugh at the end, right?
Exactly. Because you got to get people to buy tickets, the casuals. You got to get the casuals to buy tickets, and that helps. I think Doc Ock maybe helps for people who are fans of the old films. I don't know, but anyway, we'll dig all the way into that. But it's out there. We've got a lot to say. And then even on top of that, we've got more movie news. We've got more movie delays, potentially. CinemaCon is going on right now. So there's some news that's dropping out of that, and honestly could be dropping right now as we speak. I have my phone on standby because Warner Bros. Pictures they were they were presenting like as I was walking in here. I think they were getting ready to wrap up. So lots of news coming there, hot off the presses regarding the Matrix, the Batman, some DC stuff. So we'll keep a close eye on that as we go through the night. And maybe we can break some news here on the podcast. We'll see what happens.
We hope so.
We hope so for sure. But we've got to talk about the trailer. We got to talk about what's popping, and then we got to review a movie. So I feel like we need to get going, Kirk. What are your thoughts?
Let's do this.
Let's do it. Let's pop it up. And hopefully the right sound bed plays. This time I'm like very nervous, okay? Okay, all right. Yay, Roadcaster. Or maybe it was me. I don't know. It could very well have been me, but
all of a sudden you hear a sound effect. Nope.
I know. I was just waiting. I was like, I don't even know what it would possibly be, but hey, it'd be kind of cool. But anyway, let's talk about that trailer, shall we? I'm going to throw it up here on the screen as we chat in all its glory. Nice long trailer, about 3 minutes long, which is nice. They call it a teaser. I find it hilarious what we define as teasers these days. But, just to kind of walk through the trailer and what we see, obviously opens with MJ and Peter talking about the aftermath of everything that's going on with the fact that his identity was revealed at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home by J. Jonah Jameson. It's obviously turned everything upside down. Mysterio's left this whole, conspiracy behind that basically frames Peter Parker for his death at the hands of the drones. And now everybody knows who he is, knows who MJ is, Ned. It's all out chaos. And then he ends up turning to Doctor Strange to solve his problems and basically asking Doctor Strange to tap into the mystical arts to make everyone forget that he's Peter Parker. Now, Doctor Strange, we'll talk about this. Why is the Sanctum Sanctorum like totally covered in ice and snow? I don't know. We'll talk about that. We're going to speculate a little bit, I'm sure. We see a new suit from Spider-Man, which is the black and gold, which we saw leaked in the Funko Pops, which is interesting. And then we see this whole bit where Doctor Strange is trying to do the spell to make everybody forget, but Peter's starting to realize what that actually means. And it's like, oh, wait, MJ's going to forget. Oh, my Aunt May's going to forget. Oh, Ned's going to forget. And ends up, boom, the spell goes bad and the multiverse, like space-time, gets all torn up and the multiverse opens, which is when the trailer sort of kicks into high gear and hilarity and chaos ensues. And then we see a lot of like vague battle sequences. There's like lightning coming out of the sky. Then there's a pumpkin bomb that's rolled onto the interstate. And then it finally wraps up with us seeing Doc Ock, who just says, "Hello, Peter," and in scene, in trailer. So, Kirk, I have to get your initial take about the trailer. Did we get as much as you were expecting, more than you were expecting, or less? And what's your initial reaction to how the film looks?
I have to say there was also a trailer released that was had like text overlay on it, like initially,
Yeah.
and that one was circulating faster than this one that we have and that we shared, and it was so distracting. That was the only one I could find, probably for a solid 20 minutes, and maybe it's because I am a millennial and I don't know what went wrong with my search algorithm.
What they did, they released that one on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason they did that was because they know people will like watch things with the sound down,
it was terrible.
But it was hard to watch for sure. But this was the one they released on YouTube. So
yes,
but it was different.
I eventually found that one because the original one with the text, super distracting. I hated it the first time I watched it. And then I finally found this one. I was like, yes, this is how it only should have been released, despite it, whatever medium it came out as. So there's my grumpy old man, 31-year-old man, anger coming out on this podcast. I loved it. I think it was enough. I think that it's it's pretty exciting. I still don't know what the full dynamic will be of Doctor Strange and Peter, because we've already been through this playful for long enough. So I hope that what we saw in the trailer, I hope that's where it ends, honestly, because it can only go so far. It was great in Infinity War. We had a touch of it in Endgame, but this has to be where it stops. And I want a real, unique relationship developed between these two, because these are both two incredible actors, as we know, that should be able to support that kind of relationship. MJ, I mean, Zendaya, you're great, but I just don't see a lot of spectacular things in you as MJ. Maybe this is the role, the movie where they really figure out how to make that character a little bit more exciting. In this version of Spider-Man, I would say there's a lot that's just like left on the table for her first two films, and I think that this is the opportunity to make it bigger now that she is basically on the run from everyone knowing her affiliation with Peter, i.e. Spider-Man, and what does that look like when her memory gets erased with this spell. I also love how much again of the Doctor Strange world is taking over. All the visuals, the inversions of the cities and such. My wife Aubrey, she walked by as I was walking the trailer, and then I showed it to her, and she said, "I guess I'm going to have to finally watch Doctor Strange." And I said, "Yes, you will."
That's on her though. That's embarrassing.
Oh no.
You got to watch Doctor. I mean, how do you get to the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe to date having not watched Doctor Strange? I mean, he ends up playing a pretty big role. Like, it's important to know.
I think I was whispering
Calling
to her
her out.
in Infinity Wars and in Endgame. She's like, "Okay, what's this guy doing?" And so I was like, "Okay, he's magical and he's casting spells."
Yeah, I will say that like he becomes a much more likable character in Infinity War
Yes.
and Endgame for sure. Like, I think that like specifically Infinity War, but definitely Endgame too. And that's my big takeaway from this trailer is what I was waiting to see is how big is the role of Doctor Strange in this movie? Is it similar to what was going on with Thor Ragnarok, where it's like he pops in, he does his little thing, he's gone? No, not at all. I think he's heavily involved in the plot of this movie. He's heavily involved in the action. It feels like whatever Spider-Man is going to be facing in this, Doctor Strange is going to be facing it along with them. It's sort of the we broke the multiverse, we got to fix it type of deal, and he's along for the ride. I think that's a great call. He seems to be filling the Tony Stark shaped hole potentially in Peter Parker's life. And I think that's a good move. I mean, one of my favorite eras in the comics is when Tony Stark, and maybe I can't even actually remember if they did this in the comics or if they just did it in the video games, but Tony Stark moves on to a more administrative role with the Avengers, and Doctor Strange is sort of the leader on the field for the team. He's out there leading the charge, and I think that Benedict Cumberbatch is the right persona to do that. I think some combination of him and Captain Marvel should be the leaders of the team, similar to how like Steve was the leader of the Avengers tactically, but Tony was the leader of the Avengers emotionally. I feel like that could be the same thing with Captain Marvel being the tactical leader and Doctor Strange being the emotional leader, the veteran, etc. I feel like that's sort of a way they could go with it. But I definitely feel like you've got this. You're going to have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Doctor Strange is going to have his fingers all over Phase 4 and beyond, and that's an exciting thing. I think the other takeaway, of course, is the villains. Let's talk about the villains that we see in this trailer. So when I say the villains that we see, of course, we only really see one, and that is Doc Ock, which is Alfred Molina, reprising his role after 17 years away from it. We see him in full costume. Everything looks great. But we also see, like I said, a bolt of lightning come out of the sky. If you brighten it, it almost looks like there's a sort of face there. We know that Jamie Foxx is confirmed to be returning as Electro. We've got Electro. And then we see a pumpkin bomb roll onto the highway, which can only mean one thing, and that is the Green Goblin. Of course, Willem Dafoe is not confirmed to be returning, but that is the logical assumption. He's been very quiet about the whole thing, wisely, strategically quiet. and they don't go as far as to show him, but I think that there are rumors, and with the pumpkin bomb appearing, it can't be anybody else. Would you agree? Oh, Kirk. I think Kirk's frozen. I don't know if you can still hear me. Can you hear me? I see
I'm
you
back.
now.
I'm
Okay.
back. You said pumpkin bomb and you said
Yeah.
Green Goblin.
Yeah, but it has to be Willem Dafoe, correct?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. It's not going to be. His name escapes me. The boy who was in Chronicle.
Oh, Dane DeHaan.
Dane. Yes, it can't be Dane because it just didn't work out as good as we had hoped. That
Sure.
reveal. Well, I mean, if it is, it's both. It can't just have Dane. You gotta be Willem Dafoe. That man, I don't think he knows what social media is. I think he's been in several movies where he's in a camp or in a remote, isolated area. I think that's because that's where he actually lives. They just kind of paint the walls. So Willem Dafoe has no idea. In fact, I don't think Willem Dafoe knows that he's in movies. I think he's just being carted along by his family. That's what he believes. What a perfect Truman show like effect we have on him. But having him come in as Green Goblin, mwah, chef's kiss.
Yeah, so we assume then, knowing the history of the comics, that this is going to be a multiverse Sinister Six movie. And if that's the case, we have 3 villains confirmed in this trailer. They are Electro, or technically outside of the trailer too. Electro, Doc Ock, and Green Goblin. So that leaves 3 holes on the roster. Now it's worth noting that 2 of those are from the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. Electro is from the Andrew Garfield movie. Do you think the remaining 3 slots will be filled by 1 more Andrew Garfield and 2 Tom Holland? And if so, who do you think those would be?
Someone said on Twitter, so it's real, that they thought they saw a lizard tail.
There's lots of lizard speculation. Mm-hmm. There's a scene where Tom Holland turns around real quick and he's about to be attacked by something, and you see it's either a tail or a claw or something. It's very dark, but you see something coming at him. And I think the vast majority of people are speculating lizard. And there is another cohort of people, a smaller but vocal cohort, saying Venom. But what do you think? Do you think lizard? I mean, lizard makes sense. That checks the box for the other Garfield Spider-Man villain.
Unless they Men in Black neuralized Tom Holland, I don't think he could have kept that secret that long, unfortunately, for Venom to be connected into this movie. But I think, they've been kind of like towing that line. I think that conversation has happened for a future film, but I don't think it's going to show up in No Way Home.
Yep. And then the question becomes, will there be 2 Tom Holland villains, and who are they? I think my money for one of them is Scorpion. That character is a member of the, has been a member of the Sinister Six in the past. We have a character who is affiliated with Vulture, is also shown in a post-credits scene in the prison with Michael Keaton, and is the same character who becomes Scorpion. So that's an option. And then, of course, there's always the option of Michael Keaton returning. Now, we know he's in Venom, Let There Be Carnage, so maybe he's not in both films. There are people speculating that they could see Sandman in the trailer, which would be another Tobey Maguire villain. But what do you think for the final 2? I think I'm going to go with Scorpion and Mysterio, actually. I think Mysterio comes back.
It would be good for him to return. It would be good. Because maybe he officially got his powers,
Yeah.
Or comes from another realm where he has his powers, another multiverse, where he has his powers. Man, I just can't put a finger on it. I mean, I think Squirrel Girl has to hop in here during this. I don't know if she's a villain or not, but people have been crying for her.
Yeah, the fan casting Anna Kendrick Squirrel Girl movie that we've been hearing about for 7 years.
I don't know. I am more. I'm along for the ride on what villains come in, because I just that part doesn't interest me as much as the relationships that are built with Tom Holland to make Tom Holland continue to be relevant. Because although we had, again, a strong trailer, it's very, I don't know, by the book. It's the trailer, even though we've got the multiverse introduced, it's very linear, which is very familiar, which is why the Spider-Man films have become so popular
Yep.
with Tom Holland. But if you look at the core of each of their plot lines, they're isolated, but just wide enough to connect to everyone else. This is their opportunity to make those relationships stronger, so that way we can eventually see Spider-Man growing up a lot in this movie, because Tom Holland is growing up, and if we keep him a teenager too long, then it's not going to stay the same.
Yep. Yeah, agreed. The last thing, obviously, the elephant in the room is Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, both of which have not been confirmed. I mean, some outlets have confirmed it, but it's not one of these things that's widely confirmed. But no appearance in the trailer. I don't think that's a surprise at all. Do you think they show up in any promotional material for this movie prior to it releasing in theaters? And I guess, do you think they're in the movie? We should address that first.
They're definitely in the movie promotional. That's a great question. We could all be duped, and they may be only in like a post-credit scene or a mid-credit scene.
Oh, the fandom, dude. The fandom would rage.
What if we get the longest mid-credit scene we've ever received? Like, what if it's like an 8-minute mid-credit scene and it's them discovering each other, But I don't think it comes out as promotional material. I don't.
Yeah, I saw somebody tweet like, there's no way they pass up an opportunity to do a poster with the 3 Spider-Men and the Sinister Six on it. And I was like, well, that sounds like that sounds like the cover. That sounds like when it gets released, like for home video, that
Right.
sounds like the cover of it. I don't think they have to show them before the movie to get people to come see this movie. But I don't know. It's going to be tantalizing. I feel like it will depend on what projection. I don't know. I think it's a coin flip. I could see them showing one of them or doing a voice thing, like they have
Yes.
done. Something, but I would lean more towards no, because I just think even I, who strongly believe that they're in the movie, will be watching the movie going, are they going to show up? Are they going to show? Like I will still be nervous, and I think that Marvel and Sony want to keep that power over the audience, so they get the big moment.
Do we even have? I think there might. I can't tell anymore what posters are out there that are real versus fan art, because it's so difficult to discern.
We do
which
not
is
have a
which.
poster. We do not have a poster, period.
Okay, so it's strictly.
We have a
just the-
title treatment. That's it.
Okay, great. Because there's, I just keep pulling things up online, and I mean they're all over the place.
Yeah.
It looks like 100% professional grade posters. So
Yeah.
we'll never know until we see it on the screen in our tablets and in our televisions in our homes. I don't trust any of them otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. We'll be expecting probably one more trailer. I think this will probably be the one they show before Shang-Chi in theaters. Potentially Eternals gets a different one. Potentially there's a trailer in between there. I'm not really sure, but we'll at least see one more look at this movie before it comes out on December 17th. So we'll keep you guys posted. And let us know what you thought of the trailer. And if you're, thinking the movie looks good, you're concerned about it. Maybe you don't like Doctor Strange and you're like, get him out of here. Maybe you think Doctor Strange is acting weird. I've seen lots of people saying Doctor Strange is actually Mephisto, which let's not with that again. We've been down the Mephisto path pretty thoroughly before. I think it's time to turn the page on that. But anyway, if you have different thoughts, let us know. Also, if you want to smear Kirk for his controversial Zendaya thoughts, I'm open for that as well. Because she is well loved, Kirk. So you're asking for all the smoke with that take.
Let me clarify. Her potential has not been unlocked in these films.
That's fair.
I give it to the creative team.
I think, here's my opinion.
Yes.
Film 1, totally agree. Film 2 was better, but what's jarring is that the character is so different in the second movie
Yes.
that it's like hard to know who is MJ. So I
She
halfway agree with you.
is a scroll. I don't think she's actually MJ.
Wow,
And
that would be a
Kirsten
twist.
Dunst will walk in and be
And
in the rest of the
zombie Emma
MCU.
Stone will show up as well.
Yes, she
That would be
will.
good.
She'd be a great. She has the training. She has the training.
Oh, for sure. For sure. For sure. All right. Moving on to non-Spider-Man things. But like I said, CinemaCon going on right now. There are rumors, some industry sources have talked to Vulture, the publication, Vulture, and they believe that shortly after CinemaCon, Venom Let There Be Carnage will be officially delayed to January 21st, 2022. As you know, we talked about it on the podcast recently. It was originally slated to come out September 24th of this year. Then it was delayed to October 15th. We talked about that last time, Kirk, and me and you were like, weird move. 3 weeks, odd. Feels like production related and not so much COVID related. And also they moved it into a way more competitive month. They're going to be spending multiple weekends up against James Bond, Dune, Halloween Kills, The French Dispatch, just like tons of movies that are coming out. So that seemed like a strange move. So this feels like the right move. I think a couple of things to note about it. First of all, that January 21st, 2022 slot was originally supposed to be occupied by Morbius, which is another Sony film that's in their Spider-Verse of sorts. So that means that by rule, Morbius is getting delayed without people really talking about that. So that's happening.
Maybe they'll just shelve Morbius.
Maybe they will.
Because
Maybe they will.
Gross.
Maybe, I mean, unlikely because there's lots of people that want that movie for better or worse. And we'll see what happens. But the other thing I take away from this is just that there are still a lot of question marks about the box office potential right now. I think people still really don't know what it is. I think it's tough. I want to say the best indicator that we'll get is going to be Shang-Chi because it will not be releasing alongside a Disney Plus Premier Access type thing, but it's also a new property. And I know that it's Marvel, and they've been trying to advertise it in a way that's like, this is Marvel, come see this is Marvel, you need to see it. And I think they're doing a good job. But, when I told, for example, sample size of 1, when I told my wife, like, hey, I'm buying tickets to see Shang-Chi, do you want to go? She was like, what's that? So it's like, I don't know that it has been good enough to reach people who aren't close to it. So we'll see.
Yes. First of all, I'm offended that you did not ask me when you bought these tickets.
I didn't buy them. I didn't buy them.
Okay.
I was trying to align dates so that I could ask you with an official date in mind, actually. So spoiler alert.
Well,
Kirk.
thank you. I spoke too soon, and I am shamefaced. And I will buy the tickets. I will pay for all the costs now.
Bonus, man. I just hit the absolute jackpot. The other part of that story that these same sources are talking to Vulture is they're saying that Eternals is at risk of being moved. Eternals, which is due to come out November 5th, is at risk of being moved if Shang-Chi doesn't perform well. Now, it's anybody's guess what the metric for performing well is in the COVID era, but it's a concern. I've been sort of waiting for this to drop, Kirk. I have to say, I know that it's upsetting, but I've been sort of waiting for the Eternals delay to come, and it's not official yet, but it could be.
Listen, I have not had a new Richard Madden film in so long. I have resorted to listening to this audio fictional podcast that he did with a bunch of other stars, and it's just not the same. I need to see Richard Madden act on screen again. Do not delay this, please.
I know.
Please.
It's going to be close. It's going to be close. Or the other option was potentially doing the Disney Plus Premier Access thing again, which I think would be preferable to delaying, but that's an option that Disney has kicked around according to multiple different outlets. So we will see what happens with Eternals.
We're just going up and down news on here today.
I know,
Cam.
man.
Just like, great, no, great,
good
no.
news, bad news, good news. I was really glad that the Spider-Man trailer had a date and that it was the same date we've been told. I'm like, hey, yes, let's do that. Let's keep the momentum rolling.
That is true.
But we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to kick out one more quick Marvel story before we move on to other stuff. Riri Williams is a Marvel character, and she is the hero Ironheart, who is getting a Disney Plus series. It is being reported by comicbook.com that her first appearance in the MCU will actually come during Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Whoa.
And there are set photos of her, meaning Dominique Thorne, as Riri Williams, and Letitia Wright, who plays Shuri, at MIT. Riri Williams is sort of like a young genius, a la Tony Stark, can build these types of suits. That's why she becomes Ironheart. So this will be our first introduction to that character during Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which is a very interesting development and an exciting one, I would say.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, it's so hard to put a finger on what that movie will be about. Have you come up with any good ideas of like, what does that movie even look like? Like they can't call it Black Panther unless there's some sort of new Black Panther, right? I mean, there's going to be no T'Challa, obviously, but like, what do you think they do?
It has to be someone else takes the suit, right? Which is also interesting because he took the last of the plant, whatever, right?
That's true.
So unless by his spirit somehow they show that it like reigned in multiple forms, RAIN and REIGN, reigned over the Wakanda area, and maybe every Wakandan, it has the soul, the spirit of Black Panther in them. Then maybe anyone who would decide to step up, and with Shuri's technology and now with Ironheart's, they get not like the ultimate.
I think that's it.
Black Panther.
I think you just cracked it.
Yes.
Like I don't know why I didn't put that together, but I think that's probably it, right? Like Shuri and Riri Williams at MIT. What are they colluding on? Probably a combo Iron Man Black Panther suit, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or which would be her, Shuri, most likely taking the mantle. Which I had some questions about because she was like in the process of being canceled for being anti-vax and stuff like that a little while ago. So I don't even know where that stands, and if she's like, untouchable, somebody they can't cast. I don't really know where the mob is on that, but that seems like the plot. I don't know. That at least feels good. It feels right.
Just snip this audio, and when the trailer drops, I want you to like duet it like a TikTok.
Yeah, it's time stamped. We can be like, boom, we figured it out. We figured it out on this date. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna take victory laps on that one. Yes. Okay. Next up, couple of interesting projects to call your attention to. First of all, Jake Gyllenhaal, who's getting lots of work these days. Good for Jake Gyllenhaal. He deserves it. He's one of the better actors and underappreciated, I would say, that we have today. But he is set to star in and co-produce a movie that is an adaptation of Robert Kirkman's graphic novel Oblivion Song. Now, for those of you who recognize the name Robert Kirkman, he is, of course, the author and creator of the Walking Dead world. He's written a bunch of different graphic novels, comic book series over the years, and is very well respected. The plot of Oblivion Song is that there is a guy who 10 years after this horrible catastrophic event happened in Philadelphia continues to go back daily to try to rescue people who are still like who have fallen victim to that event. Like 300,000 people are lost due to this like cataclysmic tragedy, and his whole goal is to like try to go back and save people, and he's still doing it like 10 years after. I know nothing about it beyond that. That's just like the very high level synopsis.
Wow. And he actually, do we know if he saves them or if he's just like recovering dead bodies, or
no idea.
Maybe both? Okay.
No idea.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating.
If he's just recovering dead bodies, that is really something. He's just going every day to what I'm envisioning is just like a giant pit. Yes. And like dragging people's dead bodies out of there. That would be a very interesting movie. I don't know that I would watch it, but that would be That'd be a bold concept.
Yeah, I mean, just sign Viggo Mortensen up that with that, and they can do The Road
The
Part
Road
2.
Part 2. Yeah, The Road, the sequel.
Gosh.
Two Road, Two Dead or something. I don't know. Something like that. Yes. So that's coming. Figured I would report that because it caught my interest. Here's one for you. And you can decide if any part of this is true or if any part of this is false. Let me know if you think if any part of what I'm about to say is false, and if so, which part. Because this sounds like a Mad Lib. Will Smith and the Chainsmokers are working together to create a project called Clean Air. I believe it's a film. It's called Clean Air, which is a romantic comedy which takes place in the world of NASCAR.
Well, look at that, Cam. You found my fake leaked news as a headline, and I got it in the podcast.
Any part of that fake, Kirk? What do you think?
I think it's too obscure to be fake, right?
Correct. It is too obscure to be fake. It is real, and I don't know how it's real because it really does sound like somebody I don't know, is playing like a game of MASH or something like that, like or just like
MASH, Mad Lib, you nailed it. Absolutely.
They put a bunch of like words in a jar and shook it up, and then had somebody reach in there and pull it out, and they were like, number 1, Chainsmokers, the Chainsmokers. Number 2, Will Smith. Number 3, NASCAR. Anyone? And the genre romantic comedy. Thank you very much.
Oh my goodness. You know, I think in the movie, what's that movie called? It's with Will Smith and Margot Robbie. They're con artists.
Oh Lord.
It's like one word. The word pure comes to mind, but that's not correct.
It is like one word. It's not.
There's a hyphen in it. I can't quite remember.
It's not 7 pounds, is it?
It's not 7 pounds. I always think of the movie Terminal, or because Margot Robbie was almost immediately also in a movie called Terminal that has like the same treatment on the poster for it. Whatever this movie is, as I'm hoping you're looking up.
I'm on it.
At some point, they go to the racetracks for quite some time, and there's some betting done there. So
Collateral Beauty.
Not that one.
No?
No. There was another. And I think he must have gained his love for race cars there to have
Focus. That's what it is. Focus.
There it is.
Focus,
to make this project happen, because Will Smith and NASCAR and Chainsmokers.
Yeah, what are the Chainsmokers doing here? Do they even still make music? Are they just producing movies? Are they directing the movie? I'm so confused.
I mean, I bet that maybe they're the entire soundtrack. You know, like a long time ago when World War Z came out and it was all Muse. That was the whole soundtrack. This is their moment. Chainsmokers, someone in their band watched that movie. They're like, listen, guys, we could do that now in 2022.
They were like, listen, Muse turned one song into the entire score of a movie.
That's right.
And we can do that with NASCAR and with Will Smith and as a romantic comedy. I think underrated. That is the weirdest part of it. Romantic comedy. That's the part that's really throwing me for a loop. I don't even know what that will look like.
Will we get a track where the Chainsmokers have a rap section and Will Smith gets to do his thing?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all options are on the table for this crazy project. I don't really know. I mean, I think your guess is as good as anybody's, to be honest.
Oh, okay. We will keep you posted on that bizarre story all the time.
Definitely we will. Okay, there is some late breaking news coming from this this Warner session, so I'm going to try to read it here. The Hollywood Reporter is reporting that Matt Reeves has confirmed that the comic series Batman Year One, which is one of my all-time favorites, is the inspiration for the Batman, which is awesome because that's a great story and does a lot of like Commissioner Gordon development. And also that was the vibe I was getting from his trailer. So I feel like we're on the right track there. Next, the title for The Matrix 4 has been released. It's going to be called The Matrix Resurrections. The Matrix Resurrections. And Keanu Reeves will not be clean shaven with short hair. He will have long hair and a beard, a la John Wick.
Excellent.
So that's what we're hearing. That's what we're hearing right now. All right, that's all we got. That was the longest What's Poppin' ever, mostly because of Spider-Man. So if you're mad, blame Spider-Man. And now we're going to talk about Paw Patrol.
Paw Patrol, Paw Patrol.
All right, here we go. You ready, Kirk? Let me get the old Paw Patrol logo pulled up here so we can do our review. That's a necessity. You know, you want to have it. You got to really set the tone. You got to set the tone for it. But I have the honor, nay, the privilege, to synopsis this film this week. And I think I'm the right man for the job. And here's why I say that. I unfortunately have Paramount Plus. And this is not a spoiler for my review. Okay. I have seen this movie no less than 8 times since it's come out. That's a true story. Some portion of it I have seen, somewhere around 8 or 9 times this weekend, because it's like, first of all, my 3-year-old never wants to watch movies, but when we saw this in theaters and he found out that we could watch it at home, he was like, let's go. It was like turned down for what? And a lot of times, we don't let him watch movies all the time, but he's been asking for it so much that eventually it's just like, fine, man, just get off my back. I don't just negotiating with the terrorist at that point. You just kind of got to give in to their demands. Otherwise, they're threatening violence against you and things like that. You just got to be like, okay, fine. But I've seen it a bunch, and you'll find out whether I like it or not. But I will just say that any kids movie that you have to watch a zillion times in 48 hours, it becomes, it becomes a lot. It becomes a lot. I think you could have me watch a movie that I liked 8 times in 72 hours, and I would be like, okay, I'm done.
I think it's the ultimate test of, can this movie withstand time? Because if you're just pounding that movie over and over again, it's going to really tell you what your true feelings are. So I think you will have the most pure review, the most unfiltered review, because of how many times you have seen it.
Right. Nothing missed. Usually I watch a movie once on a good week, twice before we review it. Mm-hmm. This time I've seen it all, and I've seen it over and over, and I got it. Okay. So here we go. Let's synopsis Paw Patrol.
Let's do it.
Who you got there, Kirk?
I have them all.
Oh, all 6 of them.
I have them all.
Do you have Liberty? No.
I'm glad you asked.
Do you?
I do.
Oh, hot off the presses. That's a hot commodity right there.
Oh, I just killed her.
She's gone. She's gone. Wow.
There she is.
Wow. We'll talk about Liberty.
The elusive Tracker.
Tracker. We have Tracker. Yep.
And
I love Tracker.
Their leader.
Ryder. The goat. The goat. All right. Well, thanks for bringing those. That's a good call. I should have brought down my giant bin of Paw Patrol characters that I was cleaning up before I came down here. But Paw Patrol, the movie. The plot for this movie is basically, we start out in Adventure Bay. Feels like a normal start to a Paw Patrol episode in a lot of ways. Antics ensue, and soon we are introduced to a new area called Adventure City, and a dog named Liberty who lives in Adventure City. And upon hearing that Mayor Humdinger has just been, Mayor Humdinger, man, you just can't get rid of that guy. Now that he has been elected mayor by default of Adventure City, Liberty has called the Paw Patrol because Mayor Humdinger has enacted a no dogs allowed policy, and he's doing his normal Humdinger shenanigans. He's got he's stole this cloud catcher machine that's sucking up all the clouds. He does a fireworks show that sets the entire city on fire. Basically, it's pure and utter chaos. We come to find out that he's actually kidnapping dogs, that all these dogs are going missing, and it's because Mayor Humdinger and his goons are kidnapping them and taking them away. And this mission is made all the more difficult by the fact that Chase has some rough history, no pun intended on rough, but has some rough history with Adventure City, being that he was an abandoned puppy there. And that's actually where Ryder found him and rescued him. So we get the Chase origin story a little bit. But because of that, he is emotionally, mentally compromised for many of the missions that he's on because he's having a hard time dealing with all the memories and feelings and everything that's going on with him being back in Adventure City. So that's sort of the crux of the story, is trying to figure out, you know, how to help Chase through the things that he's dealing with, and to also make sure that Mayor Humdinger doesn't destroy everyone in Adventure City. Anything else, Kirk?
That's it. That is everything.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's jump into our superlatives. And I will kick us off. For my Oscar, I am giving it to young Ian Armitage, who plays Chase, the police pup in the Paw Patrol. Chase is the German Shepherd. If you're watching on the stream and you're not familiar with Paw Patrol, he's wearing the blue police cap, German Shepherd, just cute as a button. Ian Armitage, this actor, you probably know him from either Big Little Lies. He played what was that kid's name in Big Little Lies?
Was he Reese's son?
Yes. No. He was Shailene Woodley's son.
That's right.
And his name was
Ziggy.
Ziggy. I knew it was kind of like a very memorable name. You don't see many people with a name that starts with a Z. But he played Ziggy in Big Little Lies, and he also plays young Sheldon in the show Young Sheldon, for all you Big Bang Theory fans out there. But this was a different challenge for him to do voice acting and to take on a character that is well known and well loved, being sort of the dog leader of the Paw Patrol in a way. He's always, he's the one who says, like, Paw Patrol ready for action, Ryder, sir. He's like he's the guy who leads the team. And I thought he did a great job. They did some different things with Chase in this movie, which is, they did some different things that they've never really done in Paw Patrol before, really, which is to have there be like some drama and a rift that comes between Chase and Ryder. And so you were seeing this character in a totally new light. And I think that if it hadn't been performed appropriately, it would have felt really odd. And in a way, it was sort of jarring, because if you watch the show with your kids, you're like, whoa, Chase is like mad at Ryder, upset with Ryder. This never happens. This is the Paw Patrol. But the whole scene plays really well and helps the message of the movie, and everything, every tone and read of a line was in the right frame of mind. It was delivered correctly. I think, they did a really good job of picking the right takes to make it sound like there was an emotional conflict that arises slowly over time, dissolves, and then, is rectified in the end. And I think that was mostly due to a really good voice acting performance for a young actor who really doesn't have that much experience doing such things. So good on Ian Armitage. That was my pick for the Oscar.
Excellent choice. Excellent choice. The cast in here is pretty fascinating altogether, because we don't have a lot of the original voices.
Right.
I mean, it's not like 80-20. It's not even like 50-50. I mean, it might be somewhere around 70-30. That's because, again, I'm a mathematician and I've crunched the numbers. But I think that is a fascinating move to bring this to the big screen and only utilize some of your active voices. The question is, were the regular voices not all available? Did they want to add some different flair? Which of course they did, because it's not like people are coming to this movie looking for the big voices, right? They're not coming for Ian and saying where I'm coming for him. I need to listen to his voice so badly that I need to come see this. So it's pretty fascinating that was one of the choices. My Oscar is going to go over to the character who played Mr. Ryder, Mr. Will Brisbane.
Yeah, good choice.
I thought this kid did pretty fantastic. I don't think he has as much star power as your boy Ian over in Young Sheldon. He's got a couple things on his docket here and a couple things lined up, but there was just something about his voice that struck me as mature but still youthful, which there have been several voices of Ryder over the course of Paw Patrol. The first Ryder obviously will stick in my mind the most, the MVP, and then you had the next Ryder's voice was drastically different in the fact that it was an octave lower, and then
Yes.
they swung too far back. They had someone with 2 octaves higher, and I think they've got it good on the current season. But this was like the combination is if they could have put in a computer algorithm or in a 3D printer a voice box that would perfectly encapsulate Ryder, this was it. And I think he balanced it so well between whatever age Ryder might be, which I'm still looking for an episode of Paw Patrol for them to explain that. I thought he was great. I really did. So Oscar goes to Mr. Will Brisbane. What a great name, too.
Yeah, they had him billed in the credits as introducing Will Brisbane. Introducing.
Okay.
So this is sort of his. I know he's been in some other stuff, like you said, but this was sort of, I guess, his big
His
feature
big
film
screen. Oh, you know
debut.
what? There's that is probably correct because it's TV and shorts before this, and the only other he's got another film coming out in 2021 called Abducted that has not hit release. So
Ooh,
yeah, this is his debut film release. Congratulations.
yeah, well done, well done, great pick. Yeah, it's always jarring in the show when they change Ryder's voice. I can always hear it. Like we'll bounce around seasons, um, with Marshall whenever he's like wanting to watch it, and every once in a while I land on an episode where I'm like, oh, what? Who is this? What's happening? This does not sound like Ryder at all, and it's really odd. So it was a tough bar to clear, I think, for them to bring somebody new in. But I think you're exactly right. I think it was a good choice. All right, moving along to Scene Stealer. Oh man, so many choices, so many choices. I've gone back and forth on this. I have to say I've waffled a bit, but I'm gonna go with Ron Pardo, who played Mayor Humdinger. Also plays Captain Turbot briefly in the beginning of the movie, but Ron Pardo plays Mayor Humdinger, who is of course the ne'er do well, worst mayor ever, who always finds himself in the position of trying to get power, trying to enforce his will on other people, trying to be appreciated and things like that. And the reason I made this choice is that Mayor Humdinger is a bit part. Obviously, it's he has one bit, and that's what it is. And every episode he appears in Paw Patrol, they do the same thing. But in this one, they were asking so much of Mayor Humdinger. They asked for him to carry the entire. He had to be like a main villain in a movie, which is not really the role that he plays in Paw Patrol. Like he's not in every episode, and he's in a lot of them. But when he's there, it's always just kind of like this goofy, you know, he's not really like a villain. He's just like this annoying guy who's around
Mhm.
doing stupid stuff, trying to get his own will imposed. And in this, he had to be like more of an actual villain, like kidnapping dogs and stealing the cloud catcher. And he, it should be the most annoying character in the world, and maybe it is for some people, but I didn't really feel that in this movie. I felt like it was well balanced. He was funny. His delivery was good, and it was just the right amount of his like annoying, super over the top delivery, and also the right amount of like him being a convincing villain for this movie, and helping to carry that through to the end. So I thought that was good. I think that could make or break it, to be honest, if it was just like way over the top nasally voice the whole time, but he did a good job of balancing it out and making sure that it wasn't too lopsided. So I'm giving it to Ron Pardo for Mayor Humdinger.
That is so true. I was this close to picking him for mine as well because that's how he almost slid right in there. When you watch that character in the TV series, and also while you were talking, I just started thinking about, man, if anyone started listening to this and they're like, man, these guys really know a lot about Paw Patrol. Like, these are two dudes way over the age of who should be watching this show regularly. But you have to understand, we watch this show with our kids. We don't just turn it on and walk away. No, no, no. We're good fathers. That's the difference right here. We get into the plot line. We encourage them. We base our parenting on storylines that they tell, or we negate them and say, you know what? they made this choice this time. I'd rather you choose this in our life and in our family,
Yep.
or you reinforce that structure. So that is what I was thinking about while we've been talking, and I'm listening to you and talking about, themes and such. And that's what I'm hearing most of all. But Ron Pardo, such a good point. Almost my scene stealer. He is sometimes very annoying in
Oh
the
my
series,
gosh.
and I think
Yes.
it has to come down to the writing of the episode, because he'll sneak in and go, "Hey, has anyone seen my kitty cats?" And then the dogs say something along the lines of, "Yeah, they're over there in that tree." And he says, "Hey, you better go catch them." And then he breaks into the headquarters and makes it fly away, or some crazy stuff like that, like in Mighty Pups, where he basically steals their lookout tower,
Yeah.
like a grand criminal. This man should be locked up. But what you see in this movie is that he's totally shapes a character in such uh, a more it's not as annoying to the ears. He doesn't have to lay in the heaviest part of his nasal cavity. And I think my wife would be really good at expressing why he does a better job in this than the series. We haven't got a chance to talk about it, but she is quite excellent at voices and recognizing them. This one is the same actor who plays the show and the movie,
Yes, that's
and
right.
I'd love to get her take on how she thought the difference was, because he lays off up here and it really drops into his mouth more in this film. And I've gone on too long. So my choice for the Seed Stealer has to go to Rebel, played by Mr. Keegan Headley. Keegan
Yeah.
Headley. This 100% definition. We go back and forth on our definitions of scene stealers. I loved that Keegan Headley just like dove headfirst into this. I believe he is one of the original voices. 60 episodes is his count on Paw Patrol as Rebel, and that is excluding their little specials. He also voiced for 27 episodes Daniel Tiger, so this kid has got it going on. I mean, he might as well be in the kids show Hall of Fame at this point. That's absolutely incredible, absolutely incredible. So what I love that he does in this is that obviously he sounds so much like Rebel, because 60 episodes deep he is Rebel. The creativeness that they allowed Rebel to be just like a commedia dell'arte character, just like the punching bag, the clown, totally came through successfully. From the biggest joke I think the kids laugh the most on is when the pup treat dispenser gets released, and you hear angels singing in the background, but it's really just Rubble. And that joke played in the trailer, and it played just the same in the theater full of tiny kids. They were cackling, and there's so many other moments. His dance moves, his one-liners that absolutely had us belly laughing in the theater. So bravo to this kid, Keegan Headley. He also just looks like a hilarious kid if you get a chance to look him up online. I just know that he is just like the next Seth Rogen or something. No matter what happened, no matter what he says, it's just going to be hilarious.
Yeah, my son's personal favorite one-liner in the movie from Rebel is they're in the middle of this giant storm and a wig flies by and smacks Rebel in the face and he says, "Things are getting pretty hairy out here." It just slayed. It's like the ultimate dad joke, stupid pun, but oh my gosh, was it hilarious in the moment and in the context, and delivery was just spot on. So, yeah, great call. Great call. This movie was really funny. I have
It
to
was.
say, I was surprised. I really thought that all the jokes were going to be in the trailer, and there were some good ones in the trailer. But they kept them coming the whole show, and there were jokes for adults, there were jokes for kids. Like it was well done. It was really well done on that side. All right, moving on to Showstopper. This is where we get technical with the kids' movies. We got to really analyze this stuff, right? For my showstopper, I'm going with the fact that they understood the assignment. This is something the kids are saying these days on TikTok. Like, he understood the assignment. They understood the assignment. They did not overcomplicate it. They did not add in a bunch of new characters that were totally unnecessary. They added in basically one, Liberty, which we all knew they were going to add a dog, and they did so in a way that really made a ton of sense and was very helpful and ended up being a really good character overall, in my opinion. And I thought that was well done, but like just small things like when Ryder and the pups get into the Paw Patroller to drive to Adventure City. There's no Robo Dog. It's like no point. We don't need to we don't need to have Robo Dog. It's an unnecessary character. When they're in Adventure Bay, they show Captain Turbot for like 10 seconds. They show Mayor Goodway for like less than that, and they get out of Dodge. They really just focus on the 6 core dogs, Ryder, and Mayor Humdinger, and that's really it. And I think that that's the right move. So many times you see with these kids' movies, they take it to the nth degree of trying to make it this big, insane story, make it something so radically different from the show. But this time, the people who made this movie really understood who their audience was. They played the Paw Patrol theme song. They said they played the the song that they play whenever the pups spring into action for the first time. The go, go, go. They played that and had them do their whole intro with them getting in their uniforms and getting in their cars. Like they did that. And then they kept the formula the same as the episodes for the first half of the movie before introducing a more a higher brow plot line, if you will. But it was just really smart. You don't have to go crazy for these movies. Know who you're making the movie for ultimately, which is the kids. Understand why this show is successful, and then recreate that in a longer format on screen. And I felt like they totally understood the assignment and did that. There are some issues with the movie, but the issues aren't because they went absolutely berserk and were overly ambitious and tried to create a whole new thing. It was, they were different reasons. So I felt like staying in their lane was the right move, and they did it.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
All right, Kirk, what you got?
My showstopper is, which also might show up in my director's shoes here shortly. It's the aesthetic, the production boost, if you will. It was great. It was like this perfect marriage of the cartoon that we know and love, and how it's kind of like what the most recent episode would is. I haven't watched it, but the most recent episode that probably released before the film, and the value of animation there, and what they want to go towards. This movie coming out reminded me a lot of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers that came out in the 90s, right? So we had Tommy and Jason and Kimmy and we had all of them, and they get like their suits are a little bit shinier. You get to Adventure City, in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, they get the ninja suits, right?
Yep.
They find the cave, and everything's shiny and just super exciting, right? That's what this felt like right here. I loved what they did with that, similar to what we saw in Space Jam 2: A New Legacy. But this was better because it wasn't so much over the top. It wasn't so much trying to make them completely real. Probably the most noticeable one of the pups that had maybe the most detail was Rocky. And even
Yes.
with Rocky, I still appreciated how they made him look versus his original look, and it still didn't go too far. But you notice that his was the biggest, because this little flappy ear they make a little bit floppier, and they make his cheeks a little bit more roughly real right there.
And his eye patch, like his little like patch of color on his eye, I noticed was a lot. It popped a lot
If I
more.
can capture that, if I can get the right focus right here. Yeah, absolutely. So I really appreciated how well that kind of new world that the same world, and moving into the busy city and figuring out what that looked like on the big screen. Because if you put Paw Patrol the show on the big screen, it won't play. It won't play because of the pixels, and just the art, the overall art direction. But this, man, it was cool. And this translating into televisions on Paramount Plus, and this translating into, I want to buy this on iTunes when it's available. That would work. So if you do the reverse and go forward with Paw Patrol, the series, I don't know. There's definitely an argument to say this should be the highest standard. And can they do it from a production standpoint, from a business standpoint? I don't know. But I loved the look of this movie.
I do think it's probably too expensive for them to keep going. Otherwise, they would probably do it. We came back and watched a episode from season 8, which is the current season, and I was like, duh. It just like it was jarringly lower quality than the movie. It just really was. And I never thought that before I saw the movie, but then you see the movie and you're like, wow, they all look so good. Everything looks so good. And, the detail and you can see the little fur on their head and, the way Sky's ears flop around. Like, it's just not even close. It's really not even close. But they did that while still making it look like Paw Patrol. Like
Yes.
whenever they took like SpongeBob and made a 3D SpongeBob movie and it was like, ooh, what? This doesn't look right.
Yeah, it was too much. It was too much.
That was not the effect here. They were just it was like just 4K pups instead of like, VHS level kind of resolution. So I like that call. I like it a lot. Okay. Moving to director's shoes, which is what we would change about this movie. I think there are a couple of things that I would call out. First being something that I actually mentioned earlier, which is the conflict that arises between Ryder and Chase. I do feel like they did it. It was good from a plot perspective, so I was reluctant to include it, but it is so jarring from a character perspective because you have never seen them engage at all in any sort of way like this in the show. There's really never any sort of negative energy in the show outside of like sometimes a character gets scared, but Ryder's just there like supporting them and things like that. It's not like, Ryder, why would you put me in this situation? And so when that scene happens, it was like, huh? Like my kid looked at me like, what? Like is Chase mad at Ryder? So I think that was interesting. I almost feel like they could have done the conflict without having Ryder and Chase get like be upset with each other. They almost could have had Chase just like leave on his own without having this blowout with Ryder. And then it's just like, Chase is thinks he has to be this tough guy when really like it's okay to have emotions. And that was the message anyway. And it was a good one and it worked. But I do think that them choosing to have an actual conflict between those two characters probably presented a pretty interesting experience for kids and fans of the show. That was interesting. I think the other thing is the plot was a little thin. You see it in kids' movies, the whole like cloud catcher thing. Like why does that exist? That seems like a pretty throwaway idea. Like I said, they, the first half of the movie, it's like the Humdinger fireworks thing and then the Humdinger train thing before they finally get into the overarching plot of Mayor Humdinger is stealing dogs. And so I feel like they could have introduced that plot point of like dogs are disappearing. We got to figure out where they're going earlier and then layered in some of these more formulaic, like the fireworks thing and the train loop-de-loop craziness thing. They could have still done that, but also introduced the puppies are disappearing plotline earlier so that it sort of glued together a little bit more. So not unusual for a kids movie to see a plot be a little bit thin. It has to be thin enough and grounded enough for young children, very young children in this instance, to understand. And so I think that they checked the box there, but I do think it could have been a little bit more cohesive. There was just a little missing bit of attention to detail and finesse that you see in like a Disney movie or, a really well-made DreamWorks movie, not like Illumination Pictures or whatever, but that was not there. So I feel like it could have been slightly better.
Yes, all of those things. I would also agree, piggybacking off of Mayor Humdinger's fireworks and the loop-de-loop and the clouds. We get introduced to the cloud sucker, and then it just kind of is running in the background. Then it comes back into play, and the introduction of the dog snatching, which is the biggest plot point of them all. That right there. So you have four big plot points. Well, really what they did was they said, all right, we are episode writers. What are 4 big events? And it really did feel episodic within the movie itself as we got to the first stop, where we rose to, we're fine, and then conflict. Oh, we better go save the day. Cool, and we're good to go. And then, oh, look, Mayor Humdinger's up to it again, and we go back and forth with this, which is probably familiar enough for kids, but I feel like there was a better way to streamline that into not making it seem like they saved the mission, they went back home. They saved the mission, they went back home. In a movie, you can't really do that. And the episodic feel to this, it should have been morphed just a little bit more to really fit what they were going for. They were close, but not quite. I also think that, they have this full ensemble and they didn't utilize the ensemble as best they could have. I'm looking at all my toys here. We've got Chase, we've got Sky, we've got Rubble as our big hitters, right? We have Liberty as kind of like number 4, who's up and coming, and they give her a good amount of exposure and kind of in the background stuff too. That they're not just like Liberty, Liberty, Liberty. She really is a lovable character, and that's why I think that immediately this toy was off the shelves because people were so excited.
Yes.
But then you have the other pups who have a couple of lines. They save. They help out a little bit. I mean, Marshall is in there enough, but not quite. Rocky, I mean, blink and you miss him. And Zuma gets dogged on literally and figuratively and punnily in the series. Like they actually like make fun of Zuma openly. And you see throughout the series, you see Zuma going from having like one episode per month where it's like Zuma to eventually just being like an afterthought and be like, Zuma's gonna go swim and catch someone, I guess. It really seems like that. And in this movie, I don't think Zuma talks until, or even gets in his vehicle or is showcased his vehicle until the last 15 minutes of the film. Poor Zuma, man. I mean, I'm Zuma strong. I'm gonna start that hashtag.
Hashtag Zuma strong.
And the final thing I have on director's shoes is that we had an opportunity here. We had an opportunity here, Nickelodeon. I'm speaking directly to the CEOs, where you have a weather conflicting event. The weather has been manipulated, and you did not get snow, and you did not bring Everest into the mix, and it didn't get super hot, and you didn't bring Tracker into the mix. I mean, those are your guest star appearances right there. Those are your guest star appearances, especially Everest, all-time fan, but we didn't get them as well. So there was a little bit of a struggle with supporting the full cast as an ensemble. But for the big 3, again, Chase, Rebel, Sky, and of course our fearless leader, Ryder, they did a good job for them. That's my director's shoes.
I did tell Jackie as we were walking out of the theater, I was like, it would have been really dope. And it's weird that I use that word whenever I'm talking about Paw Patrol. But I was like, what would have been awesome? I really did say dope in real life though. Is if they're just like, they have this Infinity War moment where each dog is trying to fight their various fight, and they're just taking it in the teeth. There's just not enough. There's not enough resources. And all of a sudden, over the comms, it's like, don't worry, pups, help is on the way. And Everest shows up the same way that like Thor and Rocket and Groot show up in that Wakanda battle. Everest shows up, Tracker shows up, Rex, those 2 mighty pups that they add, they bring in all of them and just do an all-out save the day mission. That would have been fuego. I would have loved that.
Yeah, but there's even the like early on before the superpowered pups, where there was a superhero pup with the cape and everything.
That's right. And Wildcat is new. They could have. I mean, there's so many things they could have pulled in there. For my Paw Patrol fandom, that would have really checked the box. To bring it all together.
Here, Kirk and Cam talk the lore of Paw Patrol for an hour and a half. Join us.
Like Everest's first appearance was season 1, episode 7, but no, but seriously, Everest has been around for so long.
Yes.
She's been in so many episodes, and she's just a great concept dog, the snow dog. there was opportunity here. There was opportunity for
There
sure.
was, there was. And speaking to the, Infinity War moment, I mean, they've already laid the groundwork in that they were not even pretending to shy away from that. I mean, the Mighty Pup storyline is the Infinity Gauntlet,
Yeah, it
is the
is.
Infinity Stones, 100%. So why not just milk that? I mean, just
Just
go
go
for
for
it.
it. Yeah, just go for it. 100%. All right, that's enough about that. Let's give final thoughts and scores on Paw Patrol the movie. So, like I said, I've seen this movie 8 times now, probably. So I should be as good of a critic as possible. And I have to say that I'll just be transparent. I expected this to be very bad. I just did. All the signs were there. You know, the way that the trailer was constructed, the fact that it's Nickelodeon, and I've seen them do stuff like this before that just doesn't work. All of it. The fact that the trailer was like featuring Tyler Perry and Kim Kardashian. I was like, this is not good. Nothing against Tyler Perry, but particularly them advertising heavily that Kim Kardashian was in this movie. I was like, this is red flag city. That said, I was pleasantly surprised, and maybe my score will be a little bit higher because I was so surprised by it. But like I said in my showstopper, they did not overcomplicate this. They kept it simple, and though the simplicity came at the expense of the plot at times, like Kirk and I both talked about, they could have for sure had a more solid through line during those set pieces of, the pups are missing, but here's all these other set pieces the pups have to deal with before they can deal with that. Like, that would have worked better. But what they did worked really well. And even though the whole Chase Rider thing was in my director's shoes, just because of the way they executed it, the theme of like, hey, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay for Chase to not be, a hero all the time, and also being a hero doesn't mean not being afraid. Like, great messaging. Loved that, especially coming from Chase, who is sort of the main character of the pups. I thought that was excellent, and I thought everything else was just boxes checked. It was funny. It has high rewatchability. The kids who are coming to see it are going to get everything that they wanted. It had good music. It was upbeat. It was just a perfect film representation of the show, and overall just really executed very well. I don't think, there are obviously some things that I think that they could fix, but I'm not going to gripe much about this movie overall. So I'm giving it a 7.8 out of 10 kernels. And that's having seen it 8 times. So if I was going to find something to really hate about it, I think I would. I think this is a really good kids movie. I think it really is. I think there are always going to be things to pick at, but if you consider what the assignment was, who they were making this movie for, and what they came up with, it's really very good. It really is.
Wonderful.
All right, Kirk, you're up. Oh, I just messed up the screen.
That's okay. I liked it. I liked what you did there. It was exciting for all of our listeners who are not watching us. It was
yeah,
so
exciting. You should go to YouTube right now. Also, so that you can see the music snafu that happened at the beginning of the stream.
Yes,
so,
do not forget. We have to plug that again. Make sure you listen to the first, just what is probably ultimately boring for everyone else.
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah, it's got to be horrible to listen to. I'm going to cringe through it when I'm doing post-production, but so be it.
Oh my goodness. You should make it more ridiculous, actually. Like, just like throw like, like crash boxes in. And
yeah, just add in a bunch of sounds, bunch of like clown noises.
Like the Wilhelm scream, like.
Yes, I should. If only there was enough time for such things, Kirk.
You should do a re-release on a week that we're just like too busy, like just
the director's cut.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Paw Patrol the movie. I too thought this movie would not be great. I always wanted it to be good, but low expectations. And we often talk about, are our heads in the right spot when we go see movies? Do our expectations skew the movies? I don't think that was possible in this. I think we were mentally preparing ourselves to be able to comfort our children in this particular case, as it is a children's movie. If it was bad, in order to how to clean up the mess for the legacy that Paw Patrol obviously holds in mine and Cam's heart, possibly more than our children.
Could be. I think that's a strong possibility based on the contents of this discussion so far.
I mean, this is probably one of the longest reviews that we've done, and I mean, we've done some pretty big dramas, pretty big Oscar noms and Oscar winners, you know. But this movie really does know what it's doing, despite its pitfalls. They're few and far between. I think that the rewatchability, I've only watched it 1.5 times, but my kids are. They think I'm the worst father ever because I don't have Paramount Plus, and every time the TV turns on, they say, "Daddy, can we buy Paramount Plus today?" I mean, I think this evening they were trying to allude to that they would pay for it. They would break out their piggy banks and pay for it in perpetuity so that they could watch the Paw Patrol movie. This movie is great. My score is close to Cam's. I love what they did with the dogs, pups. Excuse me. My score goes to an 8.2 out of 10 kernels.
Nice. Yeah, strong scores for the Paw Patrol movie. You love to see it. Paw Patrol the movie. Oh my goodness, Kirk. Look at that. Kirk's got the Liberty, got the motorcycle.
She's got a thing that she shoots, but I don't know where it's at. My kids have lost it already, so I'll find it one day.
I felt like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Jingle All the Way after the movie. I was like, Jackie, I'm concerned that Liberty is going to be hard to get. And she was like, I already got it in the Target cart. Don't even worry about it. It's a done deal.
And then Sinbad would show up and fight you in the lobby.
Yeah. Rodney King. Yeah, it would be the same. It'd be the same plot of that movie, which honestly, in a way I would love to live because it's beloved. It's a beloved Christmas film in my house for sure. But you clearly have it. I think it's great to get it on lock. It looks very sweet. Can't wait to get my hands on that one as well. I was playing with the Dino Rescue toys earlier. Dino Rescue, a big fan in our house. Big fan of that run. But that's enough about Paw Patrol. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you guys checked out Paw Patrol the movie, I want to know your thoughts. If you thought it lived up to the standards, I feel like this is one of the better non-Disney kids movies we've had in a while that I've feasted my eyes on. So I was very pleasantly surprised, but I'm interested to hear what other people think. We've got Spilled Popcorn coming. It's actually going to drop next week because we did a double episode. So if you're wondering, when the episode 3 review recap analysis will drop, it's going to be probably Monday of next week, similar to the cycle that we did with Loki. So what if episode 3 drops tomorrow on Disney Plus? And I believe the topic of that episode is, what if the Earth's mightiest heroes were destroyed, killed, something like that? What if the Avengers weren't around?
I think so.
So that'll be an interesting one, but we'll be talking about that. We'll obviously keep you guys posted on Spider-Man and all things MCU that are going on, but that's all we got. As always, if you want to get in touch with us, you know how to do it via social media and also Discord, which we highly recommend. Join our Discord server. And we'll be keeping you guys posted on all the latest, especially coming out of CinemaCon. I bet there is more news on my phone right now, and we're going to get it posted on social media for you. But until next time, and I'm going to hope that I hit the right music bed this time. Let's listen. There it is. There it is. We're gonna head out, and thank you guys so much for listening. This is Rhetoric. We will catch you guys next week.
Talk to you then.